because I had built up so much anger, frustration, and resentment towards you that I felt like I was already operating like a single married mom, and that you were just coming home as like another person to like criticize how I was doing things and like not pitch in. That I just felt like, well, I'm already doing it on my own, so wouldn't it be easier to just do it on my own by myself? And so I took my rings off in the kitchen, put them down on the floor, or put them down on the counter, and I was like, I can't do this anymore. You know, like.
Those are not the words that you said.
Yeah.
What did you actually say?
Okay, I said, fuck you, and I hate this relationship. On this episode of Late Night Date Night Podcast, we talked about what is harder, marriage or divorce. And we talked about, some of the moments in our relationship where we thought walking away might be better, but how we overcome those things and have healed the things inside of us that needed to be worked on and healed so that we could build a connected, healthy, happy marriage and where we are today.
Hope you guys enjoyed this episode. You slammed the door to the master bedroom, and I was laying there on the couch in the dark. And I remember just being on my back thinking to myself, how the fuck am I gonna get out of this relationship? I mean, we had just gotten engaged a few months earlier, and the amount of fighting that we were going through, I was just so miserable. Like, I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to overcome it. I was so frustrated because I was building this business and finally having success, and I was just blew my mind how I couldn't figure out how to fix this thing at home. It's like no matter what I did, I would walk through the door. I was constantly met with resistance. We would fight about everything. It was like there was never any peace ever. And I just remember thinking like, you know what, fuck it. I'm gonna give her the house. I'm gonna give her all of the things inside of the house, except for the little sentimental things that were mine to begin with. I'm gonna take the dog and I'm just gonna say, peace, I'm out. I'm gonna go do my own thing because I knew that I was gonna be able to make money, take care of myself. And I was like, I guess that's just what's gonna have to happen because I can't keep doing this. And I probably thought about it, not just on the couch that night, but multiple times over the next few weeks.
I thought about the same thing. We had just gotten engaged. It was like the picture perfect, Pinterest worthy, like engagement right in front of the Disney World castle. And we came home and I remember shit just hit the fan and we were like always fighting. And I was like, okay, well, maybe this isn't meant to be. And maybe this is just showing us that like we're meant to go to our separate ways instead. Because, engagement is supposed to be fun and like have these celebrations and an engagement party and just be like so happy. And really, I feel like it just surfaced all the things in our relationship that wasn't working. And so I was planning, I was like, well, I have a good friend that I danced with that's really successful at real estate. So I can use her to sell the house and then I'll just use that money to go buy a condo. I'll go to school to be an esthetician and we'll make it work. And we could go our separate paths and just start all over.
Yeah, which then begs the question, we weren't even married yet. And the reality is that wasn't even the hardest part of our relationship. What do you think is harder, marriage or divorce?
I personally think that marriage is harder because it's just, the more you do the work, the more you realize that you are not completely innocent. And I realize there's nuanced cases and every person and situation and relationship is totally different. But for us, I feel like it just exposed all of the things that weren't working in us or in me that I needed to like work through in order to have like this better, stronger, loving relationship.
Yeah, I think staying in a marriage, I mean, I've never been divorced, but I've been cheated on and broken up with many a times. But, I think a divorce, it just depends on the level, right? Like, I think it's a short-term solution at times for what we feel like is going to be this long-term relief. But inevitably, I think there's a lot of emotions and attachment and identities that kind of like come along with it. And then you start to add in children and assets and homes and everything else, and it can get really messy at times. I think staying in marriage, though, is really challenging because it forces you to confront things inside of yourself and you're forced to overcome them. What I've realized is that the things that that bother me in you are actually just things in myself that I don't like. As an example, I busted my ass to become a partner at my real estate brokerage here in Denver, right? And one of the things that you had to do was you had to sell $15 million in real estate in volume 3 years in a row, or you had to do 20 million in 2 years. And the year that we decided that you were going to become a stay-at-home mom, and we gave up the $140,000 in income that you've had, along with all of the healthcare benefits that Verizon offered, there was this immense pressure on me. And I realized that if I didn't make partner that year, that we were going to be out of health insurance, which means we're going to go use the VA hospital, which the people at the VA are great. The system as a whole is fucking fucked. And I didn't want to do that. And so I felt this pressure to go do it. And it was in that moment where, you know, I had to confront this thing in you that I didn't like in me. And I remember sitting in that moment, feeling that pressure, right? And you were laying on the couch and you were kind of taking it easy as a new mom. And I looked at it as you being lazy. And it was very short-sighted. But the reason I didn't like it is because I actually knew deep down inside that I needed rest. And I was betraying myself and I wasn't honoring what my body needed. And that's one of the reasons I feel like I've had some of these issues with just chronic stress and heart issues and not being able to sleep, is because of my inability in the past to not rest. But every time you would do something like that, it would invoke this visceral experience inside of me where I just had like this anger towards you. And inevitably, I think it was just a mirror being held back towards me. You know, staying in this marriage for, today's our anniversary. December 16th, our dating anniversary. First place in relationships in your life. Eat it, ex-boyfriends. First place. Let's go. Staying in a relationship this long for 9 years. What has been something that you've had to confront in yourself and overcome?
I think the first fight that we experienced after we got engaged, I got this lesson of like my communication styles and like us being on the same team in what we want is just not working, you know? And so we had this picturesque engagement. We came home.
Can we rewind the tape for a second before you go down this path?
Sure.
You can pick up where we came home, but you sent me a picture of the ring that you want made.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
And you got it.
I got it made.
You got it made.
Boys, like, I just want you to know, like, I took initiative. I found one of her rings, her Denver Broncos ring that she has, and I took it to the jeweler so it was gonna be the perfect size. She like kind of sent me this ring. I had it perfectly made. I took out the diamond from my Air Force Academy ring that my grandmother gave me that was hers, and I took it out of the Academy ring and I put it into your engagement ring. And I was so stoked when I picked it up.
Yeah. So we had this great engagement, and then we came home, and I think I gave it like a couple days because I was having this internal battle of like, well, should I say anything or should I not? But first off, when we got home, I couldn't get the ring off because it was 2.5 sizes, two sizes small.
Well, the thing is, I didn't know that the ring that I took was a pinky ring.
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
Thank you. Can you let me tell this story?
Sorry.
Okay.
Apparently this is bringing a lot of stuff that is still alive in me out.
I guess so. But anyways, it was my pinky ring, and so it was like 2 sizes smaller than my actual ring finger. And so we used floss to like wrap it around my finger and just slide it off, and it was so painful. And so first off, it needed to be remade anyways. But when I asked you and we got home and I was like, hey, do you think like we could add 2 diamonds here, like on each side? Because I have this scalloped ring that's very like vintage style with like diamonds that are like in the metal. I don't know what that's called. But they placed the setting inside the middle of the pear shape. And so there was this like blank space that also looked yellow. And I was like, I don't know, my dad, worked with a jeweler growing up. And so I saw a lot of like beautiful, beautiful jewelry. And I knew that something just like didn't look right. And it was nothing against you or what you did, because literally you got, the picture that I sent you made for my ring. But when I brought that up, maybe I don't think I explained it wrong, or I
You don't think you explained it wrong? You 100% explained it wrong.
I explained
And
it.
I didn't hear it.
I know, that's what I was going to say. I mixed that. Well, I explained it incorrectly or not. I don't know. I wasn't super clear in what I wanted and what I wanted to do. And so what you heard, was like, I want to add 2 bigger diamonds on both sides instead of actually have it made right. And so when we went back to the jeweler, you were like, maybe you can tell them what you said. Like, you almost broke off our engagement.
So what I heard when you said that to me, and I'm glad you're bringing this up because communication is a big piece of this, is us learning to repeat back what the other person said to ensure that we heard it properly. And I think that's a lot of active listening, but also the willingness just to repeat it back to be like, hey, are we on the same page here? Because what I heard when you asked for 2 extra diamonds was this ring isn't good enough, and I want more. And I was like, fuck that. I am not marrying a woman like this who is ungrateful, and went down this whole path.
Yeah.
And then once we realized, and I saw it, what you were referring to, that they had not created the ring correctly. When we went back into the jeweler, I was like, hi, you guys need to fix this. And they're like, well, that's the way it's supposed to be. I was like, the fuck it is. I was like, you almost broke off an engagement because of your mistake. I was like, would you buy this ring based off what it looks like? And she's like, no. I was like, well, I'm not going to either. And so here's what I need you to do. I need you to fix this. I need you to do it today. And I need to have this back. And oh, by the way, I'm not paying for this because I haven't slept in weeks. And they're like, okay. And the jeweler was really cool about it. Yes. I was not holding my cool about it, which is not usually my kind of like MO when I'm speaking to people in the service industry. But I was pissed. And they came back and they fixed it. And they gave me a new cubic zirconium for my Air Force Academy ring that I can wear. But the beautiful part about that was like the communication thing. Yeah. And there's also this thing that I had to confront too, right, in that moment, right? Like seeing how you were reacting to my response. And seeing how at times when I bring work stress into the home, I had to recognize that my temperament, my energy impacts the entire home. I can either suck the energy out of a room or I can breathe life into everybody. I can have you walking on eggshells or I can have you dancing in the kitchen. I can have the boys laughing and in complete just like this love hug fest, or I can have them afraid to ask a question. And what I've recognized is that it's my responsibility to be able to manage my own energy, my own temperament, my own stress. And for a lot of guys or a lot of people are probably like, yeah, you're responsible for your own feelings, which is true, but in practice that can be very challenging. And so I've had to not only create an operating system for myself to make sure that I can manage these things, and it's exactly what I teach all the men that I coach. And at the same time, I've had to understand and be very aware of when I'm operating that way and recognizing the impact that it's having on you, on the boys, or my family, or even my friends. Like it's that contagious.
And I think about, all of the times last year when you came home from, working a week in California with your coach and just feeling like this immense amount of anger, frustration, and like resentment, that you would walk in the door and I would just be like, kind of like, cool, great to see ya. Can you take over? Because I'm going to leave, kind of energy. And I do feel like very bad because, that was the type of like energy that I created when you came home. And so that's more about like me managing my own ability to take time for myself and get the break to build myself back up again so that I can actually show up as like, the wife that is happy to see her husband after coming home.
Yeah, I mean, here's the reality. There was times when I just didn't even want to come home. Like I didn't even want to come into the house because I knew that if I came into the house, there was going to be this disconnection. I was excited to see the kids, but I didn't know which version of you I was going to get, and it was very challenging. And I think a lot of times when those things compound over and over and over again, whether you're the wife walking in and your husband's being a dickhead, or you're the husband walking in and your wife's just being completely dismissive and kind of like, very masculine energy. Like when that compounds and there's never a conversation, I can see why divorce becomes the thing that comes into the forefront of your mind.
Totally.
And when divorce becomes this thing that's in the forefront of your mind, the reality is like, whether it's this relationship or another one, this shit's still gonna come up. It's always gonna come up. And I think there was moments in our relationship, not just the first time where I was sitting on the couch, but there's also multiple moments where everything, like things pivoted and things changed, right? Where we were like going down this one path and we were thinking about like completely separating, and then we completely pivoted and went to this other direction. Do you remember something like inside of you that happened? Because I didn't know you were planning your exit, so now I'm really curious. Like, do you remember like a moment where everything changed for you?
In the positive direction?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think it was last year, kind of around this time, where we finally sat down and we got on the same page about what we wanted, for our relationship and for our life. Like, I was actually part of the conversation, whereas I felt like before, you'd be so focused on work and you'd go on these work trips and then you'd come home and you'd basically like dictate them to me, or like what you wanted, but it was never like I felt like it was never sort of like a conversation for me to like actually be included and have like a say in what we wanted. That was probably due to, my own ways of being as someone that traditionally doesn't like voice her wants or needs, or someone that like wasn't even in tune with what I wanted or what I needed, and then having the ability to be able to like make a different decision to go after what I needed, to like give myself permission to do that. And then I also think it was just like the dynamic that we had, like I am naturally like more soft-spoken. You are naturally more outgoing, and you are the leader of this family. But to actually have like the trust and the knowing that like it's important for me to have a voice and say in what we wanted, I feel like totally shifted things for us.
Yeah.
Because I mean, there was a point in time where we were fighting like right over there after you had like left for another trip, and then like you had a boys trip, and so it felt like you were just gone like all the time. And like that was the only thing that you cared about. Like you didn't care about having time with us. And so I took my rings off in the kitchen, put them down on the floor, or put them down on the counter, and I was like, I can't do this anymore. Like.
Those are not the words that you said.
Yeah.
What did you actually say?
Okay, I said, fuck you, and I hate this relationship. And so because I had built up so much anger, frustration, and resentment towards you that I felt like I was already operating like a single married mom, and that you were just coming home as like another person to like criticize how I was doing things and like not pitch in, that I just felt like, well, I'm already doing it on my own, so wouldn't it be easier to just do it on my own by myself?
Yeah, and I think that's fair. And like, I know there's these unbearable moments where on the backside of that, things changed.
I think that was like a pivotal moment in our relationship, where it was also like, I feel like shortly after that, I still got this message of like, this communication style is not working. And so if you want a better relationship, you have to like do something about that.
I think something that became unbearable for me in this relationship that I knew needed to change was kind of on the back end of what you just said, right? Traveling 170 days out of the year, and then, I would come home and I was showing up as a good husband. I really was. Like, I wasn't perfect, but I was showing up as a good husband. I was like trying to hold space and trying to reconnect, and then I would come home and I would land at like 10 a.m. and then I would give you the rest of the weekend off. And it got to a spot where in the beginning I was like, okay, cool. There's stuff that I need to change and adjust, without a doubt. Right? I can't come home and be critical about the way the home is or the cleanliness of the home or anything like that, because you're managing a toddler and a newborn. But once I started to do all the work on myself, and I truly felt like I was leading the family, both physically in my body, the way I was taking care of myself, spiritually, in the business, setting ourselves up, I realized that I was able to say something that was probably the scariest conversation we've ever had in our marriage. And I remember looking at you being like, listen, this is no longer working for me. And you've given me 3 options. 1, I can cheat on you, which I won't do because I value myself too much. 2, I can divorce you, which, to be clear, is not what I want. Or number 3, You and I can work on this marriage and build something that we want. And to be very clear, Lizzie, that is what I want. And you came back and you're like, don't give me ultimatums. I go, again, I'm not giving you an ultimatum. Number one, I can cheat on you, which I don't want to do. Just to be clear, I won't do. Number two, I could divorce you, which is not even like, that's like the last thing I want to do. And number three, we can work on this relationship and we can stay together. And my fear was if you said, cool, divorce me. Like you could have easily been like, you know what, I'm out, I'm not doing this anymore. And that would have been very hard for me to stomach. And there was a risk in that. That's why it was so scary, because I didn't know how you were going to respond. But you sat there for a moment, and I will never forget, you sat there for a moment, and then you came back to me and you're like, I want to work on this with you. And that was the moment that we made the decision to finally sit down and talk about what we wanted this marriage to look like, what we wanted it to feel like, what we needed, what bothered us, what needed to be let go of, what we wanted to bring with us. And that vision, I will say to the day that I die, having a vision allowed us to fight for something instead of fighting about the fucking dishes.
Well, a big piece of that too was we also had to forgive one another, because there were times even after that where I brought up things from the past and you were like, I thought we were going to let go of that stuff. And so it was you holding us to the standard of like, hey, if we're going to move forward, we have to let go of the past and like forgive and love each other. And I feel like just you being able to do that for us and for me to hold me accountable to what I said I wanted, which was a better relationship, helped us move forward.
Well, I just knew that if we, whether it was us working together or us going into a different relationship, the work was still going to have to be done. And I knew in my soul that I wanted to be with you. Do you know that, what would have carried into a new relationship that still existed in our relationship?
Yeah, all the things. I mean, I think that's what, maybe people get wrong, is like, we think that it's going to be better with someone else, but like, we haven't changed ourselves. And so we just carry that burden into the next relationship, hoping that it's different, only to realize that it's not, because we haven't done the work on ourselves, Mine
was like a lack of presence. I was so connected to my phone and, to social media and emails and to text messages that I realized, like, if I never worked on that presence piece, that no woman would ever feel seen by me. And she would never feel safe with me. And she would always get to a spot in the relationship where she was like, you know what? I've had enough. And our kids too, right? Like, it doesn't matter whether it's Luke and Enzo, or if I went on and had a different family with a different woman. If I was constantly connected to my phone, I was never going to be the present father that I wanted to be. And that was one of the most challenging things, that I had to take a step back. I'm like, I say that Lizzie and the boys are the most important thing in my life, but if you look at my screen time, it's a very different story.
Right.
I was constantly putting business above you guys. And it didn't start out that way on purpose. I think it got to this place that was driving me, because I felt this immense pressure to take care of you guys. But I realized that if I didn't work on presence, like, I was screwed in no matter what relationship I was in.
I think for me, it was like this deep-rooted fear and belief that like I wasn't worthy of having this like amazing relationship. And that I was actually like very scared of commitment, because commitment meant for like the rest of my life when I think about marriage. And I don't know, I don't think, maybe I didn't even like myself back then, when we got engaged. So I was like trying to sabotage the relationship so we could just go our separate ways. But I don't know, it was like this deep feeling of like, I'm not worthy of having a relationship that can fight and say what we need to say, but say it in like a calm, peaceful interaction. Or like, I'm not worthy of, my husband wanting to like date me every like couple weeks and like have amazing kids and a connected family and just all of the things that I would think of that define like a healthy, happy family and marriage.
Yeah.
And so like healing that inside myself has like opened up the possibilities for us to grow closer. And it's always evolving, but I'm grateful to be on this journey and, do the work on me so that we can grow closer together.
Yeah. It's pretty amazing what happens when you make a decision that what used to be the relationship no longer works. See, I remember coming in after being gone. And I had my suitcase and I would get out of the Uber and I would be walking towards the door and there would be this excitement in one part of my heart and then this complete just like, I don't want to do this on the other side because I didn't know who I was going to meet when I walked in the door. I knew the boys were going to be excited, but there's also going to be a disconnect because I was gone and FaceTime could never replace that. And I knew no matter how close we were when I left, like there was going to be disconnect when I walk in the door. And so every time I would walk into the home for 11 months, I was constantly met with this just combative wife. And it was so hard to stay committed to a purpose that I knew was placed in my heart by God and be forced into a situation that had me feeling like I was fighting for my life. I think what was beautiful about that experience, and I think this is for a lot of people, is everything in your life is just an opportunity. I believe that those experiences where you get defensive, reactive, angry, frustrated is just God trying to show you where you're out of alignment. And in making that decision that we were going to change our marriage, I really saw just like the fruits of that this past weekend. You know, we woke up on Friday, I went and played golf with two of my high school hockey buddies. And there was no nervousness in coming home like, oh, now it's my time, da-da-da-da. It wasn't any of that. You were like very welcoming, like you understand that me having guy time is important because when I'm here, now I'm like present with the kids. It's not like I'm putting that above you. So I go out and have fun with my friends. I come home, we have dinner. Saturday morning, we wake up, you go to the gym because I know I want to make space for you because that's important to you. And then you come back and we go to the Golden Christmas parade, then we go get ice cream, then we go over to my parents' house and celebrate my dad's 76th birthday. We wake up on Sunday and I go on a walk at 5 a.m. by myself. And then we go to church as a family, and then we come home and I go to the Broncos game, or we dance in the house to Christmas songs. I go to the Broncos game. I come home after the Broncos game. There's no fear about how you're going to react. We have a blast as a family. And then Sunday night, you initiate sex, and it was amazing. And I'll never forget Monday morning, I woke up and I was like, I can't believe how far our marriage has come to where this is the reality. It's me supporting you and what you need, you supporting me and what I need, and us supporting each other collectively so that we can show up for our children and ourselves. And I think it's just amazing to know that, yes, marriage is so fucking hard. And marriage is hard, especially when you're trying to grow and make it better. But divorce is going to be hard too. And the one thing that I kept thinking is like, your unhealed wounds in marriage are going to follow you into divorce. So you can either deal with them now, or you can put that on a credit line, and you're gonna have to pay off that debt later.
Yep. I'm glad we did it.
Me too. Yeah. So listen, I'm curious. Like, what are you guys' thoughts? What's harder, marriage or divorce? Like, I'd love to see it in the comments. See what you guys got to say. We hope you guys have enjoyed this podcast. Right? If you love it, give us a 5-star. If you hate it, give us a 1-star. I'm good either way. But at the end of the day, come follow my beautiful wife at Lizzi Ray on Instagram. Follow me at Sergio Nazaro on Instagram. And we hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Until next time, take care.
Bye.